what I was dealing with was the self-hatred. I absolutely hated myself. And so I was like just trying to be open and like, what would it feel like to love myself? What would life look like? How would I treat myself? How would I speak to myself? And it felt really uncomfortable and weird and embarrassing, awkward. Like to say that I love myself, it just made me want to throw up the first time I did it. I was like, no. But I knew intuition was telling me, keep with this. This is important. And so I kept at it. And that really did help change the nature of that voice.
Entrepreneur Audacity. Audacious. Now they watch it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Entrepreneur Audacity. Today, I am here with my guest, Jessi, and Jessi is stationed in New Mexico, which for everyone who's not geographically across where New Mexico is, like myself, it is actually not in Mexico. It's still in the States. So, Jessi, thank you for coming on the show. I've been really excited to do this episode with you. You sent me your book before to have a read about, so we're going to dive into a lot of the things that you've got covered in that as well. And can you please give us an intro, who you are, where you're from, what your business is, anything else you want to leave the listeners with?
Right on. Well, I'm really happy to be here, and it's so neat to connect with people all around the world. I'm learning geography constantly, so no worries there at all. And yeah, my name is Jessi Hartnett. I am a wife, mother, entrepreneur, and dipping my toes in all sorts of things these days, writing, podcasting, and mainly coaching. And yeah, I'm just really happy to get out in the world. I never thought that I would be doing anything like this when I was younger. I was a really scientific numbers kind of person. So this has been a huge shift for me. And I just enjoy connecting with others so much.
That's awesome. So talk to us about that. If you were a really scientific person and you didn't see yourself doing all of this, how did you come to becoming an entrepreneur? Like, what was your journey like?
Right. So I did everything I was supposed to on paper. I studied really hard. I got good grades, went to college, and got a lot of encouragement. I kind of wanted to be a pioneer woman in the science field. I know that you have a background in mining, and I wound up in land survey, so construction work, and in this male-dominated fields, and it was not easy by any means. I felt really isolated and just not connected to a purpose, really. I was just trying to make money. It was very stressful. And so I knew it wasn't right for me, but I kept pushing, pushing, pushing. So I stayed there probably longer than I should have. But my life started changing. I quit smoking and moved away from addiction, got closer to who I am and really what I wanted, and connected with my intuition again, and realized, like, hey, it's time to leave. I don't know what's next. So, took leap of faith, the audacity, let's see what happens, and ended up becoming a mother, which was also very unexpected, but felt the calling and, fell in love at the right time. And through that, I really started writing again. And that's what connected me with, hey, like, going through this addiction thing was a big deal, and there's a lot of people that are struggling. And if I could know what I know now, 10 years ago, things might have been different. Like, I appreciate everything I went through, but man, it would have been helpful to have someone like me help me along this journey. So that's kind of what started the spark in me to share my story and to support other people that feel alone and lost and looking for guidance outside of the medical system.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I am like riddled with goosebumps right now. I connect to everything that you have just said at such a level, being a woman in a male dominated industry to sitting there being like, what am I doing? The addiction, I can understand, how hard it is when you are working in a field and, we get these pressures, particularly like when you're a strong, independent woman and you're like, I'm going to make something of myself. And like for me, I want to do it for all the ladies in the world that don't have the audacity yet. Right. And you get that. It's almost like an influence that, okay, I need to actually go into this realm or into this, industry, and like, this is where I want to go, but actually like, that's not your calling. So
Mhm.
talk to us more. And if it's okay, are we able to dive into your story on addiction? Because I know that that's been the driver of the business that you've started. So I'd love to know more about that.
Yeah. So what do you want to know more about the career
So what
path?
your addiction, like when you say addiction, you were addicted to smoking, correct?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we'll go into the addiction side. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
started
Yeah.
smoking at 13.
Mhm.
I picked up cigarettes and quickly started smoking weed as well daily. And because someone told me, they're like, "Oh, you shouldn't smoke cigarettes. It's bad for you. Smoke weed." And then I got addicted to weed. So I was a full blown smoker, 13 years old. And yeah, it was just part of my life. It was so prevalent, is how I dealt with any kind of emotion I didn't want to deal with. And I thought it made me focused. I thought it made me driven. I put all these beliefs into it and just thought it was who I was, really. And so that was part of my driven nature too. It's always like this two-sided coin where it's like I would work so hard that I would like burn out and not like just being so hard on myself, being a perfectionist, just go, 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 go. That smoking kind of became my way to let that go, to relax, to take a break, to be bad, be less than perfect, mess up. And so it was like this, they were definitely tied together, the whole thing. And so when that fell away, then I could start to look at that part of myself, that workaholic, that perfectionist, and say, this has got to go. Like this is the main thing here. So I felt like that was like my main addiction mostly, and that the smoking just was a manifestation of that ultimately. And so when I took that away, that's what it was exposed, and it's something I still struggle with, to be honest. It I'm sure you know, in the entrepreneur, you can just work endlessly, and you can really get stuck in that perfectionism and trying
Yeah.
to do everything yourself, and that self-reliance, that independent streak. And so that's something I still work with, and I'm growing to accept and just allow it to be there, but not let it run my life so much.
Yeah, it's a really important aspect because you are correct. As you were saying that, I was like just thinking of the last few days I've had, and it's just been hours and hours and hours and hours of things
Yep.
and stuff. And,
Always
when
things
you're
to be
not,
doing.
yeah, you're like, okay, I need to do all of the thing. And as you say, that self reliance and the perfectionist stuff. Oh my God. How often do we struggle with that as an entrepreneur? And particularly, I know that men, and I don't know if this is going to be a little bit gender biased here, whatever, but I feel that men are a little bit more like, who cares? We'll just get it out there. Whereas us women, we can be a little bit more like, oh no, like I really want this to land. And we pay attention to the details more. And, if I look at me and my brother is just like gung ho, like do this and leaves a trail of whatever. But I'm a bit more like, oh, like calculated, think things through. So pivoting into like how, so thank you for touching on the smoking aspect as well. And I'm really keen to understand that addiction tendencies and how that was playing out for you when you were in the resourcing world, in the male dominated industry. What was that like? And was that really enhancing your addiction? And did you notice it at the time?
Yeah, so I was really stressed. I was so stressed, and I kept thinking that smoking was helping with the stress. So the more stressed I was, the more I would smoke, and I was caught in that loop. And it's so silly once you get past it, or if you're someone on the outside looking in, it's pretty clear that the smoking was increasing the stress. So it didn't help me, but I relied on it so much to take breaks as well with work, because otherwise I would just work through. I would just skip lunch. I wouldn't take any time for myself. So it becomes like maladapted, where the smoking can become a form of self-care. You think that like I'm taking this time for me, I'm taking a break, I'm relaxing. This is a space for me to have like this meditative process where I'm focused and reflecting. And that's it seemed like it was helping me. And that's why I kept turning to it. Even though I was trying to quit, I knew it wasn't healthy, it was expensive, it was inconvenient, it was embarrassing. I kept going back to it because of the benefits I thought I was getting from it, and I didn't really see that until I started slowing down, getting curious, and taking a look. It's like, yeah, I have a lot of beliefs that this is a good thing for me, or I wouldn't be doing it. I think it's a misconception with smokers, is that, they're stupid or they're out of control or things like that, but there's real emotional reasons why they're doing what they're doing. And it's becomes like a tool for survival, especially when you're in an environment where you're unhappy, where you don't feel like you can express yourself, where you're disconnected from yourself and your true needs. And that's how it was for me in the industry. I was just pushing so hard, constantly competitive, that I really didn't recognize my worth, my value was always about what I could produce, and looking for that external validation to get the approval to be one of the boys, and it was driving me crazy. So I've been a lot
Uh-huh.
happier since leaving that, as particularly in the office setting. I was just thinking about that the other day. It's just like I'm a caged animal in a cubicle. Like I am not the
Yeah.
same person at all. It brings out the worst parts of myself, and it's hard to pass on that money, but uh, it's completely worth it to have that connection to myself and to be in a place where I feel level.
Yeah. That's really important. And you made a point about, how people see smokers and how people, kind of just discredit them like they've got something wrong with them. And what I've found, and I've gone through my own addictions, whether it be when I was smoking methamphetamine when I was really young, being a workaholic, like binge eating sugar, like all of these things, and I've got, ADHD, very addictive personalities. And people don't understand the grasp that addiction can have on you. And as you say, it becomes that self-medicating. It's not time for me. And, when when you're in an environment that's a lot of pressure and being caged and you want to perform and you want to do really well and be one of the boys, you kind of, it enhances that addiction because it fuels it more and you need it more because you're working so out of alignment to who you actually are.
Yeah.
And, Jessie, I'd love to know, at what point did you go through and just realize that you weren't in alignment?
Yeah, so I do want to touch on something real quick. It kind of ties into it is the self-talk as well. So when you're in that environment that's so high pressure and competitive too, I had a really negative self-talk voice that pushed me through it. It's just like work harder, do more. And that's what kind of like shows up. It looks successful on the outside. It looks like, wow, she's really driven, she's really determined. But it was making me feel horrible about myself, feel horrible about my life. And then, we can turn to an addiction to escape ourselves. Essentially, it's like not even about necessarily having a relief from the work. It's just that we can't sit with those thoughts for too long. They'll drive you, off the wall. So I think that I started to notice that voice because it was just like an autopilot thing, and it had got me so far, in academia, in career, in relationships even. And I started to notice that voice when it really came time for me to quit. And I was had some outside pressure to do that. I was having a lot of trouble with my health, and I was about to lose my teeth, essentially. That's what the dentist told me. Like, "You might wanna quit smoking because 'cause we're probably gonna have to pull all your teeth." And, I just had,
Damn.
like, advanced gum disease and
Yeah.
surgeries, and I was, like, smoking with stitches in my mouth, and I'm like, "This has gone too far."
Yeah.
Like, I had a lot of victim mentality at the moment. I was just like, "Well, why me? All my friends smoke and nothing bad happens to them." But I am so grateful that it happened because it really pushed me to see the effect it was having on my body pretty young, and I'm thankful for that it didn't get to, advanced lung cancer and things that other people have to experience later in life. But, yeah, it made me really push myself to quit, and I was trying to use the willpower method to quit, because it had gotten me so far is pushing through, ignoring my body, working harder, staying up late, getting up early, just go, 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 go mode had worked for me, in terms of success and that validation that I was living on. And so it did not work with smoking because of the emotional override. So I got really curious. I'm like, why am I going back to smoking after 2 months of quitting? Like there's no nicotine left in my body at this point, right? So this isn't the physical addiction that the doctor's telling me it is. There's something going on here. And so I got curious, and I really would kind of like test and see what was it. And if I went for stress, did it actually help with the stress? No, it didn't. I'm actually more stressed out. Why am I more stressed out? And it all came back to the self-talk. So that's what I really had to start working with, the self-talk and noticing it and changing it, directing it, accepting it. Because like I said, it's still there. I can't get rid of this voice. I'm not even gonna try anymore. It's just like, yep, okay, I hear you. No, thank you. So that's what really was a game changer for me, was to understand that you don't have to listen to your thoughts, and that we all have these different parts of ourselves. They're embarrassing, we don't talk about them, but it's very real, and once you can see it, you can't unsee it, and so that's what was a game changer for me.
Mm. And it's a normal thing, that little voice in your head. is a normal thing. We all experience that. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate your vulnerability here because
Yeah,
that's powerful. And, coaching from the position of going through all of that is powerful. And I love that you brought in the fact of the self talk and it not going away. I always think about it like you've got that annoying that
mhm.
annoying freeloader that's always with you that's trying to be like, no, we shouldn't do this. We shouldn't do that. You kind of just got to be like, just strap in, mate. Like, we're going on this ride. You're either
Yep,
with me or you're not, kind of thing. But like, no matter what, they're always going to be there with you. And if you look at, put a neuroscience lens on it, it's our brain's wiring to try and keep us safe. That's what that
absolutely.
is. And it wants to keep us in that comfort zone. We don't want to change. Why would we change something when we know that this addiction and this way of living is we can predict it? It does give us dopamine, which we're not really happy though, but it's still like it's safe. We know that we're not going to die.
Mhm.
And all of those drivers keep feeding that little voice inside you being like, okay, we're just going to keep going, keep it up. You know? So what are some of the strategies that you use day to day to kind of help just relieve yourself of the pressure of that little voice?
Like I said, just knowing that that's not true and knowing that I don't have to listen because I thought that I did before. It seems silly, but I just know that I'm empowered enough to make my own choices and to listen to other voices. So I've really connected to my intuition. I think that's the biggest thing for me. And I can tell intuitively which direction to go by the way that it feels in my body. That's how it shows up for me. And so when I listen to that voice, everything's tight. Like there's like a knot in my stomach. It feels awful. So it's, like, not very encouraging to listen to that voice because it doesn't feel good, and I know it's not gonna lead me to, my best path. And so I think being connected to my intuition and it can be easy to go astray. So when I find myself, like being ungrounded, being confused, being overwhelmed, I take time. I think the biggest thing has been self-care, like true self-care. Like, cause like I said, I believe that smoking was self-care at the time, but now I understand that no, it's absolutely not. It's more just like, making sure I'm eating good food, sleeping, taking time to rest. That really makes the difference for me where that voice is not as loud, it's not as strong, not as persistent and coming up all the time. And yeah, so I use affirmations a lot. I know they get kind of a bad rep, but it really, really helped me. And I'm gonna be like completely honest, like when I started them, I did not believe them. And through I had like a willingness and openness to believe them. So it's like you tell yourself something that you wish was true. And I was really dealing with this voice. What I was dealing with was the self-hatred. I absolutely hated myself. And so I was like just trying to be open and like what would it feel like to love myself? What would life look like? How would I treat myself? How would I speak to myself? And I started going in that direction and it felt really uncomfortable and weird and embarrassing, awkward. Like, to say that I love myself, it just made me wanna throw up the first time I did it. I was like, "No way." But, I knew that intuition was telling me, "Keep with this is important." And so I kept at it, and that really did help change the nature of that voice where it's just not as beating you in the head with it. And it helps me even have compassion for that part of myself too. It's like, "Okay, I know that," like you said, it's like, "I know you're trying to help, but no, thank you." I have more patience now, and I think part of that is quitting smoking because I was just those extremes, those highs, those lows. It's just everything is so much more dramatic, and I feel like now I'm more, like, calm and reasonable and patient with things than I ever was, and becoming a mother has helped me even more with that, so I kind of like to mother that voice, honestly, just kinda, like, soothe it, like, "I know you're upset, but we're safe," like, things that I would say to my own daughter is kind of like the way I speak with that voice. It's like a conversation now where it's not just like, "Okay, I have to do everything you say and listen, and you're right," and that kind of deference that I was, like, so used to, growing up and even into adulthood. It's just like, "Well, somebody else has to tell me what to do." So that voice was taking the control of my life, and now I'm like, "No, I can decide what I do." It's just a huge shift.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really powerful because that voice is so strong within us. And I love that you brought in the element of, how would you talk to your daughter? Because often our self talk that we have to ourselves is like you would never say the things to your best friend that you would
Right.
say to yourself. And it's like, why are you okay to say that. Like, you're not a loser, you're not a failure. Like, you're trying, you're repeatedly doing things. So I totally feel you with the affirmations. I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with them. Like, I do like them, but I am very data driven. I've got a background in like business analytics and stuff. So like for me, I'm always looking at like, okay, what does the data say? What does the data suggest? You got to have data before we can review things. And I love affirmations because they do help you trick your brain into behaving in certain ways. And you need to prime the brain and, get the juices flowing and stuff. But the thing that will really solidify everything is the data and the output. So, you know, for me, when people are like, oh, just do all of these affirmations, I'm like, yes, affirmations, great, use them, but also back it up and produce the data. Because, if you're standing in the mirror for a minute of the day being like, you're great, you're fantastic, but then for the rest of the day, you're hating on yourself, you're
Right.
like, like you're still just giving into your addiction and
Mhm.
you're not actually practicing those self-care things that you're talking about. Because like those self-care things, that's data to suggest that actually I do love myself. I am worthy of this. I
Yes.
can be this, you know? Whereas I think that's a lot of this for me, if I feel it's a gap in the industry where people are like, just say and do all these things. It's very fluffy, and I'm like very logic, data, like what do we got? What's the output? What can we kind of lean on? Which is why I love, I put a few things up just on my Instagram about affirmations and I'm like, I get a little bit of lashback from it. And I'm like, I'm totally fine with it because, it's my opinion on how they work, how they don't work kind of thing. But when things are really fluffy and you get a lot of coaches and people in the space of self-improvement, and it feels like synthetic wellness, you know, but it's very like idealistic of, okay, you can do all of these things, but going in and doing the deep work, which is facing yourself and that little voice head on
Mhm.
is the hardest thing.
Oh,
So
yeah,
I
it's
would
work.
love, yeah, it's a lot of work. And I know that you've probably faced like really, challenging periods in that. And I'd love to see, or if you're open to give us an example of maybe one of the really harder moments and one that, yeah, you'd be open to sharing.
Yeah, so the first thing is that self-hatred. I mean, it's just hard to face that at all, to even go there. And I think another one is shame. That's a one we avoid as much as possible, and we will do anything to protect ourselves from that. So leaning into those sides of myself has not been easy. And yeah, I mean, it's still something I'm still wrestling with. I'm just trying to think of like something simple to share. It's more emotional. It's just, like, actually allowing yourself to feel it. So the feelings is big game changer with me because I was so used to suppressing, like, anytime I had any feeling I didn't want, I would smoke. So facing those emotions was, like, hell because I think the more you suppress it, it, like, builds. It, like, doesn't go away. It's just, like, in hiding, and so that's, like, when we quit smoking, people are pissed off. People are, like, crying and go to pieces because they're feeling all those things that they haven't allowed themselves to feel, and they're feeling them all at once. It's like driving a truck into a wall, and, yeah, it was extremely hard to go through that. I feel more with the cannabis because it was more difficult for me to quit cannabis in some ways because I just could not function. Like, I just emotionally was just, like, completely a wreck, and so I ended up quitting them both at the same time, nicotine and cannabis, and it felt like with the cannabis, like, I was just having a lot of suicidal thoughts. It's just like, life isn't even worth living, I'm a terrible person, nobody loves me, like, these really, really dark thoughts, but it was really just all that sadness. I'd been feeling that for a long time and carrying that for a long time and was finally able to let that out, and once I did, like I said, now I'm so much more even keeled. I never have thoughts like that anymore. And so I think it's just allowing yourself to have those feelings. It can be really scary, but just know that it's a temporary state and that it's ultimately going to be for your good, which is, like you said, kind of fluffy, easier said than done. But it's just 100% worth it. And there's other ways, like, to soothe yourself, so I had to learn a lot of ways like that too. It's like, if it is too much, like, it's okay to, like, check out and watch a funny movie, or
Mm,
to take a bath, or, even call a friend. Whatever you need to do, there's so many more options than smoking. I feel like I was really limited by that in my imagination and creativity. It's like, any problem in the world I had, I go to smoking. Like, even things like I'm hungry, I would smoke to not eat. Like, I just did not have any connection with my emotional needs, my physical needs. And so I had to really be creative and open. And even if it doesn't work the first time, like, stick with it. Like, you think about how many times that you went to smoking. Give yourself a little bit more time than just once for something to work and be effective for you. And so, yeah, it was definitely an emotional experience, but I learned a lot about myself. And because of that, I feel like I have resilience now too. It's just like, when things are bad, it's like, okay, I got through that. I can get through pretty much anything. So it builds like a kind of confidence in yourself that you don't have if you just avoid all that stuff your whole
yeah.
life.
Yeah. No, I definitely get that energy from you. And it is like, 'cause you can talk with conviction. You can say things with conviction and that strength of knowing that you've been in a dark place and you've made it through it. And you kind of, yeah, you're able to look back and be like, oh, right. Well, if we got through that, I can kind of get through anything. And then coupling that with being a woman in a male dominated industry, absolutely crushing it, probably.
I don't
I would
know.
assume so.
Like I said, the
You're
self-talk
plugging
wouldn't
all the
let
door.
me wouldn't let me be happy with my any of my accomplishments, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
no,
mean, I did
no,
what
no,
I could, and I
no.
always did my best. So,
Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. So let's talk, let's change the angle because, coupling all of that, right? That would have been going on in the background and your transition from construction world into starting your own business and motherhood. Like maybe can you walk us through that and what that was like? And maybe when or what period of your life you were in when you actually gave up the smoking and how that's kind of all correlated into where you're at now.
right. So the way that I see quitting smoking was as an initiation experience. And so when I started smoking at 13, I was looking for an initiation. And it's that transition out of childhood into adulthood where you feel like you belong to the community, you know who you are, you have an identity, you're solid in something. It's painful, it's that dance with death. It's always gonna be like that. That's how an initiation is. Something is sacrificed so something can be gained. And I feel like starting smoking was like a false initiation. It didn't actually get me to the next phase of life. It kept me stuck. And so when I quit smoking, it's like initiation, a real initiation, where it was like I said, it was just like I completely fell apart and got put back together again, but knew something about myself, knew who I was. And I was like, cool, I got my initiation, I'm done. Like, I'm an adult, I'm ready to rock and roll, here we go. And then I became a mother and I completely fell apart again. Everything I thought I was disintegrated and I became this new version of me. And um, just was completely blown away by it. It was such an emotional, transformative experience for me to be a mother. And I started to look at the world a lot differently, being with my daughter, seeing her amazement, her awe, her learn everything. And it was such an inspiration for me that I felt like I accessed a lot of my creativity. I had started to with the process of quitting smoking, like I just spoke on. I started trying new things and seeing what worked and being attentive to feedback, to my intuition. But motherhood like brought that to the next level where I was very connected to how I was feeling and how it affected her. I was very connected to creative, beauty in life, the divine, however you want to see it. And yeah, I just started getting like downloads to write, and I started writing, and everything I was writing was about addiction. And that's when I started to realize like, hey, this is like very meaningful experience for me, and maybe this could help somebody else. And so started pursuing that, and it was kind of terrifying to think about starting a business. I was struggling with motherhood, just finding a like losing that career identity to become a mother was so hard for me. I was like, no, because I never thought that I would have children. I was always like, "Oh, I'm just gonna be, this cool scientist that's free and can travel and be in volcanoes." I mean, that's what originally what I thought I was gonna be a volcanologist growing up. I didn't not think I was gonna wind up in survey. But, yeah, I just always had big dreams of, like, being very independent and career driven, and so with motherhood, I didn't know who I was anymore, and it was, like, very hard for me to totally, like, commit to motherhood, and so, I kinda had this, like, all or nothing mentality. It's like, well, you gotta do one or the other, and having a home business kinda seemed like a way to do both and to feed another side of myself besides just being a mother 24/7, 'cause that can be, it's such a beautiful thing, and I'm so appreciative for it, but it can kind of be a little too much. That attachment is so strong that you kinda, like, need a little break just to be you, to not be mom, and so, yeah, I started the business, and it was starting to really fulfill me to have this other side of me that's, like, creative and putting my energy into and allowing myself to express myself like I never had before. I'd never been on camera. I'd never been on social media. I'd never done any of these things, and I was really enjoying the challenge and all the new things I was learning at the same time, so it reminded me a lot of, like, my passion in school, like, why I liked being a student so much, 'cause it felt like a whole new direction where it's like I said, I get to make all the choices, like, totally different. It's not like teacher says, "Do this." It's like, "Hmm, what should I do?" And just trying new things all the time, and it's been such an amazing experience, and I've absolutely loved it.
What's been the biggest hurdle you've faced while starting your business?
I think going on camera was a big one. That was so scary for me. It's 'cause
It's
I
a
was
big
not.
thing. It's a big
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. To put myself out there, to put my face out there, to say my story, that voice got strong again. That inner critic is like, "Nobody cares what you think," and, "You don't look as pretty as the Instagram people," and all the things, all those kind of thoughts came up, and I was like, "No," it was that intuition kept pulling me. It's like, "This is the right thing to do. This is gonna connect with people. Like, you need this, other people need this," and it's just been such a rewarding experience, like, when we 'cause intuition, I feel like sometimes it's like, "Oh, it's a bad feeling, like, you should not go somewhere," or someone's like, "You should avoid that person," but sometimes it's, like, a bad feeling anyway. It's like but it's your mind. It's that like you said, that part of you that wants to stay safe. Like, the intuition is pushing you towards something you're resisting, but you need to go there anyway. Like, that's the right thing, is to push through that awkwardness to get to the other side, so I feel like I've just gained so much from speaking my truth, from showing up, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I had to let go of the perfectionism as well. I feel like that was a struggle, and just be real, because that's what really
Yeah,
connects with people.
it is, and I couldn't have said it better myself, really. Being on camera, putting yourself out there, telling your story is cringe. It's cringe. You know, somewhat for me, right, hosting this podcast, I love it. It's fulfills my soul. I hate editing because I have to then listen to myself. And
Yeah.
that aspect is just something that I'm just like, oh, I hate my voice on record. I always have. Um, and I remember I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to put a YouTube channel. I'm going to do all of these things and get myself out there and start talking about my story and owning the fact that, like everything happened in my past that did, so I can help others through it. And you're just like, oh, that, do I want to do this? Is this really a
Yep.
thing? And then, when you look at the people who really inspire you, they're not picture perfect. They're raw, they're honest, and they're bold. And for me, this was what actually transpired the whole Audacity branding. And, my company and everything that I'm working towards is tied in to tapping into that self belief and putting yourself out there in the most raw, honest, and vulnerable way, because people connect with people. We don't,
Yes.
we love companies and everything, but it's what are they delivering to us and what are we delivering to them? It's like a two-way street. And when you get over that fear of being on camera, putting yourself out there and just kind of own it and letting go of the perfectionism, it's so freeing. And it takes a lot to get to a point of being like comfortable on camera. I've had a lot of people kind of ask me, and I'm like, and I work with my clients on this exact thing. And it's like, you've just got to just start, even if it's not great and you're shaky, just lean into it. Like, I was on the radio yesterday morning and I noticed that I was getting a little bit shaky in my voice. It was because the first time that, like, you're live on air on a radio
Yeah.
station, like, that's a bit different than, a recorded podcast kind of thing. So I was a little bit like, oh, but you just had to like lean into it. And then once you get over that fear, you're just like, oh yeah, whatever, because it's not about us. And that's
Right.
a really important thing to remember when we start a business and we go into like a coaching aspect or whatever we're doing, we're the messenger. No one actually cares as much about us as we do. And that's a really important thing to remember when you start getting on camera and you start talking about things. It's like, actually, they care more about what your message is and how that translates to them than you. And if your hair is perfect or if this is perfect, like, people actually love to see those little imperfect moments. So I'd love to know, like, what was it like when you were first filming to where you're at now? Because you're very confident on camera and I love it and you speak very clearly. So I'd love to know like what the kind of journey was and what advice maybe you would give to someone who's at that starting point of maybe like they're just setting up the business and, they're a mother and they're like, where do I even begin? What do I do? Like, what advice would you give to them?
So I loved what you said about shifting your attention from yourself because I feel like that's very helpful. So that was definitely a tactic that I used was to imagine I'm talking to someone to see like have a just an idea of who would want to hear this. And I would speak to her. I would look into the camera and act like she's right there. And I was talking to her and that made everything a lot more conversational. I couldn't do the scripts because I would just get so tight and rigid and weird and I was like, no, that's not gonna work. So that really helped me. And also just to kind of get out of my head. So my company is called Honor Your Heart. That's the name of my book as well, because if you can shift your attention from like down in your head and just try to bring it down to your heart, there's like a very calming effect. You can even put your hand on your heart and it just really calms me where it's not like the racing thoughts, the overthinking, the nerves, all that kind of things. It's just like a grounded, calmed, centered feeling. And it's loving and it's forgiving. And it's just a better place for me to work from. If I'm too in my head, I just all right, stop, try again. Like you said, you can do that. You can't do that on the live radio, but and then I think having an intention to like when you come in, like even before I started this podcast, but I was like, I want to connect. That's what I'm here for. It's not I'm here to be perfect. I'm here to impress everyone.
Yeah.
It's you can kind of tune into what really matters to you, what your true values are. It's just a way to direct your energy and not be so nervous and uptight.
Yeah. 100%. I love it. You've said that so wonderfully. So
Thank you.
wonderfully. Because we do put such a high standard on ourselves to deliver. And then, when we like this is now our livelihood, we're running a business and we want people to work with us. We want to get clients and putting yourself out there. And I love that you brought in the element of, when you're on camera talking as if you are having a conversation and talking to your ideal client and like, what does she need? Or what does he
Yeah.
need? They then, whatever, you know, it just helps you and it helps you connect with yourself. And I love that you brought in the connection part because this is the shit that it's my jam, right? And
Yeah.
why I've started this podcast is I love bringing people together and, honoring the stories of, okay, what was the thing that got you into business and how has that formed your journey and your company? Because I talk to so many business owners who are comfortable to be on camera and then there's a heap that have started big organizations and they're being on camera is the last thing that they're comfortable with doing, So it's just a interesting dynamic, the human experience, right? I'm probably going on a little bit of a tangent here. I realize my brain is thinking about a million things. That's
No,
why
I
it
love
took
it.
some time. Um, but it's interesting the stories that everyone
Yeah.
has come into business, right? And, you know, tying back to what we were talking about when you were in the survey world and the pressures to perform and, being a woman in a really male dominated industry. I really want to dive into that a little bit, if that's okay, because I feel like you will have a lot of guidance that you can give to other women who may be striving for that very masculine, very dominant role, right? In this world that is very masculine and dominant and it's a male dominated industry. And it's not to say that women can't do it or anything, but the angle that I'm trying to come at this with is how you balance your masculine and your feminine energy within that sphere. So I'd love to just get maybe your thoughts and reflections on like what that was like if you noticed if you were in your masculine, if you were in your feminine and where you're kind of at now and how that's been a shift for you maybe.
I'm still definitely in a healing space with feminine energy. I'm not sure I understand it, but maybe that's a better thing is to not understand it because the analytical tear everything apart is masculine energy. So maybe I'm doing everything right just by feeling it and allowing it to be there. I think it's more of allowing energy than a pushing energy. That's my understanding of it right now. But yeah, it was completely absent. I mean, not obviously not completely, but like I did not respect it in that kind of field. It was a very much a doing, controlling, hustle, pushing kind of feeling. And I've shifted so much by, like I said, the intuition. I know you said that you're very data driven and I have respect for that. I think I am
Yeah.
too still, but
Yeah.
I'm much more feeling now. I allow myself to feel. And
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of room for feeling in this type, even for men. And men, they want to feel too. You know, it's not really serving anyone to completely be removed from that. And yeah, I think the connection piece is also important, that it's really about relationships and connecting for me now so much in my work, and that felt very absent in that kind of world. It was more of like, what am I going to get out of this, and more manipulative, and that kind of interaction, more of like, I want this promotion, so I'm going to be nice to this person, and I want this person to help me on this project, so I'm going to be like, it was very transactional. I don't know if
Mm,
that's masculine energy. Like, it's
mm.
confusing to me because it kind of just feels like capitalism, corporate culture. It's like, does this belong to any of us? I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's definitely
That
been a shift
toxic
for
hustle
me.
culture.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah.
hustle culture. And
Yeah.
I still hustle, but like I hustle in such a different way now. I was on this
Yeah.
podcast earlier. It's called Keep Hustling. I was like, there's different ways to look at it. It's like you said with the inner work. Inner work is work and it takes hustle. Like you have to be consistent. You have to show up for yourself every day and to bounce back when you fall off. It takes work, it takes consistency, but it's like where is it for? I guess what's that intention and what's the value that you're pursuing with the hustle? Where are you putting your energy? And is
Yeah.
it something that returns to you or something that's never ending? Because that's how it felt in that survey world, where that competition is like never enough. It was never enough money. It was never enough success. It was never enough reputation. It's just more and more and more. And I could never really celebrate and appreciate anyone in that process, including myself. So it's a completely different perspective now in my work now.
Mm.
It's all about connection and it's all about just enjoying. There's so much more joy in my work now.
How much more peace do you feel like you have now?
How much what?
More peace, like inner peace?
More peace. Definitely a lot more. Um, the thing that's helped me too is that it doesn't have to be permanent. I have moments of peace for sure. And I felt like I didn't really have a lot of that before. It was like the closest thing I could get is that smoking break. Oh, it's peaceful, but it wasn't really. It's more me tuning out or me avoiding. And so I feel now that I do have peace, and I push it on myself instead of like looking at the end of the day, like, what did I miss? What did I mess up? What do I need to do next? It's like I try to tune into gratitude and appreciation. Like, what did I learn today? What was something nice that I did for myself or someone else or someone did for me? I just try to like look at the good things in life rather than pick apart everything. And so that's how I'm able to find more peace. And yeah, I don't have the answer to like be a guru or anything. I'm so far from that. And so I think that's helped me have more peace, is to accept like, oh, you don't have to feel good all the time to appreciate what you have and to enjoy yourself.
That's a really important aspect. And I was reading something, I think this morning, about forever staying a student and always learning and
Yeah.
accepting that you're never going to get to this perfect state. And when you position yourself as a forever student, always learning, always room for improvement, you stay in that like playful energy of just being like, okay, cool. Like, I'm not going to be perfect. And, if you look at the lens of when you were in the industry and it was like, okay, what's your reputation? Like, oh, you're delivering this, you're delivering that. It's very performative and very toxic in the sense of like, I'm going to judge you on X, Y, Z, not on how happy you are, not how connected you are to the work that you're doing. And, if you look at a lot of the research that they do on longevity and quality of life, that stuff is toxic to us. We are not designed for that. Whereas if you
Yeah.
look at, cultures and workplaces that have, the freedom, they've got autonomy, people are enjoying the work that they do, it's aligned to them. There's a lot more gratitude and a sense of belonging within that. And you're more content throughout life. Whereas so many people get stuck in this culture of, I I have this thing, right? With mining. So in mining, you feel like you've made it in mining if you get a job that requires you to drive a Parado, like a Toyota Parado around the place. And like if that's where you're aiming for in life, you need to really check yourself because that means nothing. I don't know what it was in the surveyor world when you become like a superintendent and above kind of thing. You're like, all right, you got the car, you got the status, or you had the office or whatever it is. And then,
Yeah.
if that's all you're striving for, like good on you. But there's so much more to life and so much more that you can deliver and like be involved in and help people and have that really good quality of life and job satisfaction and happiness. And, you're on that ever growing journey of finding peace and learning and applying different things. And, tying back into something that you said earlier about being more in that creative space and doing more writing. Like, tell us about that journey because that wouldn't have just come up randomly. How did you kind of re engage with that side of yourself?
Yeah, and just to point out too, sometimes when you put something on a pedestal like that so much, I'll be happy when I get here. You actually get there and you're like, "Wait, this
Yeah.
isn't as great," so it's
Yeah.
it's it's not really about racing to get somewhere. Because if you're have that kind of mind state, like I said, it's just never enough. No matter how much you do, you always want more. Whereas if you can be happy where you're at right now and just appreciate it or accept it, if that's all you can do, then it's just allows so much more to move and a lot of freedom. So that's something that I've noticed for sure. And the writing was a little bit of it was totally random. It was a very much a surprise because I just had this experience with my daughter where the days are it's kind of weird. Like the days are just so long when you have a baby. There's just like it's just like you don't even know if you're asleep or awake. Like everything kind of blurs together, and it felt like I had no time, but I had all the time in the world. And so I just like would be nursing, or she'd be taking a nap, and I'd be close by, and it felt like I just needed to write something down. Like I just had these thoughts. It's just a lot of time alone with her, a lot of quiet time. Because she's little and fragile and sleepy, and it was just kind of created like a space in my life for the writing to come through that hadn't been there before when things had been so loud and busy and rushed and chaotic. And so yeah, I enjoyed writing as a child and had done well in my English classes. Like I had one professor in college was like, "You should be a writer," and that made me so mad. It's like, "No, I'm a scientist." So like I kind of had been there in the background, but it's something that I hadn't pursued, I hadn't valued, and had kind of just forgotten really. So it was really nice to reconnect with, and it's something I do, pretty regularly with I guess maybe I started picking up a little bit more with quitting smoking. I started journaling a little bit. And so that has been a very helpful practice to me when I'm caught into those emotions, when I'm stuck in a mental loop, when I want to see what's really going on. What I take some time with reflection. Journaling is a nice practice for that as well. So yeah, writing has been an awesome experience for me, and um, yeah, I get to do it all the time now in kind of weird ways, like writing emails to my list or blog posts or things like that. And yeah, it's just something that is very important to me to be able to express myself.
Yeah. I love that. Writing is beautiful. I've got bias because I'm a writer myself. And I think it's wonderful. And it's just a really freeing way to get your thoughts out, whether it be on paper, on a computer, whatever it is, but it just helps get that clarity in the mind and just, you know,
Yes.
brain dump. You tap into that creativity because it's one of those things that we're really losing connection with, the ability to be creative, especially in the world of like AI and all of these things that can enhance our business and do all of these things for us. When we try and lean on them for the creativity piece, we're actually taking away that human element, which is the specialness. And I don't
Yes.
want to go down into the AI world or anything like that, but I want to get your advice on looking back at the business lens and starting a business. What advice would you give to someone who was in your shoes, maybe at the very beginning when you decided that you were going to start the business? What advice would you give them?
Just try, keep moving, because you can get stuck in your head and have these ideas and not do anything with them. And if you wait, there'll never be a perfect time. It's just like quitting smoking. It's the same excuses we give ourselves to feel safe, to not move forward, and they seem real. Like for like the last 5 years of smoking, I would only buy a pack of cigarettes at a time because every pack was my last pack, and I truly believe that. Every single time I was like, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna quit. Like your brain will trick you. So don't put off your goals till later, till everything's just set. Just try a little bit. And you can take slow steps. Just pick one thing for that day that you want to accomplish and stick to it. It doesn't have to be this big, massive, overwhelming thing where you have to have everything laid out and the website built or whatever kind of excuse you see yourself noticing. It's like, well, what's one little part of that? Like, two, instead of looking at, like, I do a to-do list that helps me. I only put 3 things on it a day. And you can't put like a project, like build a website. You put like one thing, like I'm going to pick a domain, or you know what I mean? Like the one little tiny piece of that project. And that's a way to move forward without being overwhelmed.
Yeah, I love that you said that. One, like the smallest steps, making things granular and easy is
Yeah.
such a life hack, no matter what you're doing. Such a life hack because we get so overwhelmed and, becoming an entrepreneur, there's all of these things that you need to consider and do and think and factor in that you don't realize until you're actually starting the business. And then you're like, oh, okay, there's this. And then when you're the one woman show wearing the hat, you've got to wear all these different hats at the get go because you're building and you're growing. And you're like, where do I even start? What's happening here? Stripping
Yeah.
everything back and just working on like, okay, 3 things. What are they? And make it easy. Make it so easy for the brain.
And
Like,
then celebrate them too.
yes, I love that.
Because like get that emotion into it, and then you'll start to feel like you're accomplishing things instead of being overwhelmed or getting stuck, not moving at all because of fear or getting caught in the negative self-talk. So
Yeah,
definitely there's like an emotional piece to it too. It's like what we were talking about, the affirmations. It's
yeah,
taking action to the thing that you want to become true as actually
yeah,
what makes it true.
yeah, 100%. 100%. Do you have something that you do or like a way that you celebrate traditionally or?
Like I said, at the end of my day, I'm just like, think about what I did and I think about how it felt, and I allow myself to be grateful for it and to be amazed by it because, it's a lot of work, and just putting in a little bit each day keeps you going. Like, with podcasts, it's like, I don't even know. It felt like I was just kind of keeping at it, but somehow I've been doing this podcast for over a year now. And it's just like, wow, you know what I mean? Like just doing a little bit, doing one episode a week adds up to a lot of work. And so it doesn't need to be this big, massive thing where you're, posting every day and you're doing everything at top notch. It's really just sticking with it slowly, build something beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a nice little phrase. Ticking at it slowly builds something beautiful. That's what it's like when you're starting a business because you don't want your business to be the thing that you end up hating. And I see that a lot with
Yeah.
entrepreneurs. Because how often is it like you're like, oh, I'm stressed with this, I'm stressed with that. And you see it with people who have started a business and they haven't set up systems and processes and things in place that actually allow them the freedom that they wanted from owning the business or starting
Yeah.
the business. And then they end up resenting it because they've given themselves a job in their business that is just completely consuming them.
And
Mm,
I've been there, believe me. It's been
yeah.
ups and downs for sure, and that's just a sign for me like, "No, I need to slow down. I'm gonna do nothing. I'm gonna meditate and just sit here and do nothing." Like, it's kinda weird. It's like when I'm the most busy and stressed is, like, when it's the most important for me to meditate. It's
Yes.
not when I have free time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Oh,
I I have to lean into that other side. I have to kinda force it, and otherwise that, like I said, that workaholic voice will just take over my whole life and make me miserable, and I'm like, "No, no.
yeah.
We're gonna slow you down."
Yeah. And
Yeah.
if you don't slow yourself down, the world will slow you down.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big thing that I've learned. And I can speak from experience so many times I've ended up having these injuries and they could have just been very small injuries that would like, probably have gone away had I just chilled. But I do not know how to chill. And I've had to learn because these injuries have then needed surgeries and it's been a just massive, colossal fuck of healing and
Yeah.
process, and time that I've had to sit there and reflect and just be like, maybe if you relaxed a little bit more and you know, recognize when you were going through this process of actually you've got a lot going on and you need to step it back and you need to chill and honoring that and honoring the journey that part of being an entrepreneur is actually being on and hustling and being let's fucking go, but also being free and meditating and not caring or watching a funny movie, having time with your
Nurturing
family,
yourself, investing in
like,
yourself. Yeah.
yeah,
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 and I've crashed and burned enough times too that it took me to start to recognize it. Like it didn't come like, oh, like I just know it's like no, it's from burning out, from nearly
yeah,
falling apart, and it's like yeah,
yeah.
I'm not gonna let myself get there. I know what's coming here, so yeah,
What would you say
yeah.
to someone who may be on the verge of burning out?
Take a break, take a break. What's really important? What's one thing you have to do? Because you don't have to do everything on there. Just to focus on one thing, and just slow it down. Can you make it easier? Can you outsource it? Can you hold back a little bit? Like sometimes, or just let it go a little bit. So like I was really diligent about like posting on social media every single day. I can't miss a day. I can't miss a day, and it was making me in that miserable state. And now sometimes like I'm a mom, things come up, I can't do it. It's okay. I just get back on there the next day. It's
Mhm.
not that big of a deal. I let some stuff go, and because it might not be. It's not like everything falls apart. You lose all your followers. You have nothing. It's still there for you if you take a day off. It's not as big a deal as you think it is. So if you can allow yourself to have some freedom and rest and um, just like compassion for yourself, really.
I love that. It's a really important aspect on the entrepreneurial journey, one that we can often overlook. And it's not until we get a sense check, like my coach puts it back on me all the time. She's like, what are you doing? You're burning out and chill, relax. And I'm like, oh, yes. Okay. Yep. 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 I get that.
Yeah. I look for the bare minimum sometimes.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
what's the least I can do to keep this thing afloat? And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just enough. It's
And,
enough.
and sometimes the best thing that you could do is nothing because when you get in those, when you become the meddler and you've got your feet in, your fingers in all the pies, and like sometimes what you need to do is you just need to evict yourself for a little moment and get
Yep.
out of the room so you can have some space and then come back with a fresh brain and fresh perspective and in a relaxed, calm state. Because when we're like in all the weeds, we can't do anything if we're in all the weeds and they're suffocating us.
Yes, that sounds like mothering to me. I definitely like, mommy needs a break. I'm gonna go in this room for 5 minutes and come out a whole different person. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
I love that. Okay, there's two questions that I ask my guests and on the show. Jessi, I've loved our conversation, just BTW. And I really want to hear what your thoughts on Audacity is and what Audacity means for you.
So I think audacity is the courage to be yourself. And it sounds so easy and very kind of cliche, but honestly, it's the scariest thing in the whole world to be yourself, to put aside what other people expect of you, what you've been taught is good or successful, and to do what you truly want, like deep down in your heart, the thing that lights you up, the thing that you get excited about, that brings you joy. And maybe it's not easy. It doesn't need to be all the time like motherhood. I don't love every single minute of motherhood, no. But the whole experience, it just brings so much to my life, and it enriched me in so many ways and helped me grow. So I think it's about just putting aside what the world puts on you and allowing yourself to show up as you truly are.
I love that. Nice answer. Nice answer. It's my favorite thing to
Okay.
hear from everyone. I'm like, yes, so good. Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, Jessi, before we tie off on the show, what's one piece of advice you would like to leave the listeners with?
Thinking on this because it's basically the same. It's like be yourself.
Mhm.
But I think maybe allowing that intuition to come through, showing respect for it, and allowing it and practicing it because it's not easy. We have a lot of doubts. We have things that haven't worked out in the past, but if you can follow that intuition and even if you make a mistake, like don't instead of seeing it as a mistake, just be like, "What did I learn from this?" And taking that in and allowing it to be there. So, just really connecting to your intuition, like what feels right, because it's not logical, but somehow it's just magical. It brings so much to your life, more than you could ever imagine, and it is scary, but it is so worth it, and with practice, it won't lead you astray. So, respect the intuition.
I love that. Thank you, Jessie. Thank you so
Thank you.
much. This has been so wonderful. I've loved you having the vulnerability and sharing everything about your journey and what an interesting story that you've got. And it's just wonderful. I know that our listeners are going to take a lot from this. God, I can't speak today. They're going to take a lot from this. I know that I have. But yeah, it's just incredible to hear your transformation and, know the work that you're doing is having such a great impact on people. So if people want to get in touch with you, whereabouts can they go to find you?
Thank you. The feeling's mutual. I really respect you putting yourself out there too. And you can find me at honoryourheart.net. That's my website. And you can find my book on there, my podcast, You Can Quit Smoking. I have a free mini course on there to get through cravings because I know they're very uncomfortable and difficult in the beginning. And it has my social media handles on there. I'm on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Honor Your Heart.
Awesome. Thank you. And we'll put all of the links to everything in the show notes so our listeners can easily direct to those platforms. And thank you, Jessie. This has been absolutely wonderful. And thank you to our listeners. Yeah, until the next episode.
Thank you. Take care.